They said it was impossible. A human and a crocodile can't be friends. No one believed it. But this man set an example of an unlikely animal-human friendship. Blinded by their bond, the man forgot his fear. He knew, but ignored, that this water-dwelling carnivore could unleash its wild instincts at any moment. Then one terrible day, the unthinkable happened. The man's lovable friend, the crocodile, did something he never imagined. Tears streamed down the man's face. In that moment, he realized his mistake. But what the villagers did to the crocodile? That's a story even harder to stomach. Prepare yourselves for something truly unbelievable. Let's start the story with the man and crocodile's friendship. It was a foggy, quiet morning when Ambu took his small wooden boat out on the river. Ambu was a fisherman who caught fish to feed his family. He had been a fisherman his whole life. On this morning, everything felt strange and scary. The thick fog made it hard to see. It was too quiet. No fish jumping, no birds singing. Ambu felt like something was watching him from under the dark river water. As the sun started to come up, he saw a big, long shape moving in the water heading right toward his boat. This was no fish. It was something huge and dangerous. Then, all of a sudden, there was a huge crash and a big splash right next to Ambu. A massive crocodile had jumped out of the water. Ambu screamed out in fright and stumbled backwards on his boat. The huge crocodile was twisting around wildly in the water. Ambu could see there were some plastic bags stuck in the crocodile's mouth. The bags were keeping its powerful jaws clamped shut tight. The poor creature could not open its mouth to breathe. Without stopping to think, Ambu quickly knew he had to help the crocodile. He grabbed a long pole from his boat. He started poking and pulling at the plastic bags jammed in the crocodile's mouth, trying to get them out. Back and forth they battled, the man working to free the crocodile, the monster thrashing all around. Finally, with one big pull, the plastic loosened and the crocodile's mouth sprung open wide. It took a huge gulp of air. For a few seconds, Ambu and the crocodile just froze there, staring at each other through the spraying water. Then the crocodile whipped its powerful tail and slipped back down under the river. Ambu was alone, soaking wet but relieved to be alive. A few days later, when Ambu was fishing again, he heard a splashing sound behind his boat. He turned around and couldn't believe his eyes. It was the same huge crocodile, but this time it was acting calm and almost playful, nudging Ambu's boat gently. Ambu didn't feel scared. He grabbed one of the fish he had caught and tossed it toward the crocodile, which snapped it up happily. The crocodile stayed by Ambu's side, swimming along as he rowed home. When Ambu's wife saw the crocodile, she screamed for him to get away, but Ambu could see the crocodile meant no harm. He tossed it another fish, and his new reptile friend came right up to the side of the boat to take it from his hands. From that day on, the crocodile would visit Ambu every time he went fishing. Ambu named the crocodile Riska. The other villagers were terrified at first, but soon realized Riska was harmless as long as Ambu was around. From then on, whenever Ambu went out fishing on the river, the crocodile would find him. It would swim right up next to his small boat, waiting for Ambu to share some of the fresh fish he caught. One sunny afternoon, Ambu decided to be brave and take a risk to test his bond with the crocodile. He leaned way over the side of the boat and put his hands down into the water, just a little distance from the crocodile's huge mouth. Ambu's heart was beating very fast and loudly. Slowly and gently, he reached his hand out until he was touching the crocodile's rough, bumpy skin. To Ambu's surprise and relief, the big crocodile stayed perfectly still. It did not try to bite or hurt Ambu at all. It seemed to know and understand that Ambu was its friend. Ambu stroked and patted the crocodile's giant head, feeling how tough its skin was. He was so amazed that this huge, dangerous animal was letting him get so close and touch it. After that day, Ambu started going even closer to the crocodile. This mighty creature that could easily kill a person was being so calm and gentle with Ambu. They had made a real bond of friendship together. Ambu knew his wife and son Bato would never believe it unless they saw it with their own eyes. So one morning, He took them both out in his small fishing boat to meet the crocodile up close, not knowing this could be a turning point in their bond. He was risking his wife and son's life by trusting a wild, water-driven creature he had just met weeks ago. One wrong move, one primal lapse in the crocodile's docility, and his daring display of friendship could turn into a horrific tragedy for his family. Still, he pressed onward, determined to share his miraculous connection with the ancient beast they had been told to fear from birth. When the crocodile popped its huge head out of the water, Ambu's wife screamed in fright, but then she watched as Ambu began petting the crocodile's rough skin. Her fear went away as she saw it wasn't going to hurt them. From that amazing day on, the crocodile allowed Ambu's whole family to touch and pet him. Whenever Ambu traveled out of the village, his wife and Bato would visit the riverbank to feed the crocodile some fish. The once feared crocodile was now their special friend, whom they cared for like family. But one day, the unthinkable happened. Primal instinct stirred in Riska's ancient eyes, a flicker of something Ambu had never seen before. Then Riska, the crocodile, did something shocking. Their usual happy mornings by the river disappeared. Ambu's whole body shook with fear and confusion, and tears filled his eyes. Ambu realized something unbelievable about his crocodile friend that brought him to tears. Usually when Riska the crocodile came to visit, he would be energetic and playful, gently nudging Ambu's boat. But on this particular morning, his movements seemed sluggish and dull. When Ambu offered his customary fish gift, Riska accepted it, but then acted strangely. As Ambu reached out to pet him like normal, Riska forcefully shook his huge tail, splashing water everywhere. He was clearly giving Ambu a warning to not get too close or try touching him. Confused, Ambu attempted to approach again, but Riska thrashed his tail against the side of the boat. Now he understood. Something was very wrong, and his friend did not want him near him for some reason. In the weeks that followed, Riska's bizarre, aggressive behavior continued whenever Ambu got too close. He couldn't stop worrying about what could have caused this dramatic change in his once affectionate companion. His mind raced with dreadful possibilities as the crocodile he loved like family now acted like a hostile stranger. Determined to get to the bottom of Riska's troubling new attitude, Ambu decided he needed to observe him up close when he wasn't in the river. His natural hunting instincts seemed to be making him lash out in the water, but it was incredibly risky. What if his wild, predatory side took over and he attacked? Ambu carefully hatched a plan to lure Riska out of the water and onto the riverbank, where he could inspect him safely. Each day, he began tossing fish onto the ground just out of the water's reach. Sure enough, Riska's hunger drove him up onto land to snap up the fallen fish. With Riska distracted by devouring the pile of meat, Ambu was horrified by what he saw. Angry red wounds and deep gouges riddled the crocodile's thick, scaly backside and underbelly. It looked like a brutal attack by some other animal. His dear friend was injured and in tremendous pain, yet she had given no outward sign except her inexplicable hostility. Ambu knew he had to find a way to help treat the wounds. He immediately contacted a veterinarian, who prescribed pain medication that could help Riska heal if administered consistently, but there was no way a vet could safely get close enough. Ambu decided he would have to personally deliver the treatment, using his bond with Riska to keep her calm. The next morning, Ambu hastily made his way to Riska's usual meeting spot, treatment supplies in hand, but to his mounting dread, he was nowhere to be found. Normally, the crocodile awaited him faithfully, but today he had seemingly vanished. Ambu's heart pounded with fear as worst-case scenarios flooded his mind. Had something happened to him by the hands of humans? Pushing those grim thoughts aside, Ambu rowed further down the river, scanning every pile of logs and muddy bank for any sign of the massive reptile. Finally, in the middle of a cluster of crocodiles soaking up the sun's warmth, he spotted Riska, but something seemed off. He was clearly separating himself from the group, almost like an outcast. That's when the terrible realization hit Ambu like a cold slap. This was the work of Riska's own kin. As an experienced fisherman intimately familiar with the river's wildlife, he recognized the brutal rules of nature. Riska's injuries had been inflicted by the other crocodiles in his former group. They had likely attacked and driven him from their territory when he was too weak and wounded to defend himself. Frantic, Ambu called out Riska's name from the riverbank. To his immense relief, the loner crocodile perked up and quickly made him way over to him, breaking off from the hostile group. Once Riska pulled himself ashore next to Ambu, he got to work treating his terrible wounds. Working carefully but quickly, he prepared the pain medication prescribed by the veterinarian. Riska eyed him cautiously, but made no aggressive moves as Ambu gingerly applied the salve and ointments. To ensure he ingested the full dose of pills, Ambu crushed and mixed them into a pile of stinky fish meat, which Riska happily gulped down, medication and all. While he busied herself devouring the pile, Ambu gently stroked his head and murmured soothing words of comfort and friendship. Ambu realized a difficult truth. His wounded friend could no longer remain in this part of the river. His former crocodile clan would simply continue attacking him until he fled or was killed. But as Ambu looked around at the riverbanks choked with plastic waste and industrial runoff, he knew finding Riska a safe new home wouldn't be easy. The dirty water made it difficult for fish and other food sources to thrive, only intensifying the competition and territoriality between crocodiles. That night, as he rehashed the day's sobering events with his wife and son Bato, Ambu made a proclamation. They would have to clean up a whole section of the river in order to create a habitable new environment for Riska to live peacefully. The lack of a thriving ecosystem able to support an abundance of food was the root cause of the violent territorialism that had nearly killed his friend. If they could restore the river to being clean and healthy, all the animals would have plenty to eat without encroaching on each other's space. Bato's eyes lit up with determination at his father's plan. With a renewed sense of vigor, Ambu, his son, and a small crew of villagers began the laborious process of collecting every piece of plastic pollution, garbage, and toxic runoff from a large stretch of riverbank. It was slow going at first, but their efforts gradually inspired more and more people to join the cause. What began as a selfless act to save one animal's life soon blossomed into a full-fledged environmental revival. Hundreds of volunteers spent weeks revitalizing the river, allowing plants and fauna to flourish once more. Bato looked on with pride, even more determined now to pursue his dream of becoming an environmental politician. He wanted to take this lesson of nature's rejuvenation and apply it to rivers and ecosystems across the entire region. The cleaning process took few weeks, and the once polluted stretch of river became a thriving haven for wildlife. Ambu, his wife, and Bato continued to visit Riska regularly. Riska, the once feared crocodile, became a symbol of hope and a testament to the power of friendship that could bridge the gap between humans and even the most dangerous creatures. Helping animals in need is a truly heartwarming thing to do. It fills your heart with sunshine and fuzzy feelings, just like a big hug from well, maybe not a crocodile. Precautions are key. While Ambu and Riska had a special bond, that's not always the case. Wild animals are, well, wild. They have amazing instincts that might not always mesh with our desire for cuddles. So, if you ever feel inspired to help an animal, here's the golden rule. Gather your bravest friends, do a little research on the specific creature, and approach with caution. With a little planning and respect, helping animals can be an incredible experience. Just remember, safety first, and maybe save the crocodile snuggles for the stuffed animal version. This story was inspired by a real-life event about a man who befriended a crocodile. We've added some dramatic elements to make the message of environmental protection and animal care even more engaging. All right, folks, that's all for today.